Good morning.
Least of my worries at this point.
All right, just want to let you know.
Morning.
Mr. Winter, you'll be surprised to know that the Stonehouse Pond is full this morning.
Oh, yeah.
I've given up on wondering if it's not. Oh, it is? Oh, it's full because of the rain.
Really?
Hey, Chris. All right, it's 8 o'clock. Let's get this Finance and Admin Committee meeting, special budget meeting rolling. Roll call, please.
Steve Brunner,
Here.
Rick Weinhofer, I guess will be absent, Bill Jenks,
Here.
Dave Reeser will be absent, and Keith Durr will be absent.
Is there any public comment at this time? Oh, I forgot to mention that this is being filmed for the public's viewing pleasure. Any public comment? Hearing none, go ahead, Phyllis.
We need to go into executive session.
Oh, we're doing that now?
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna go into executive session. Do we know how long this might be?
I would expect not more than 10 or 15 minutes, and it's to discuss terminated personnel.
Okay.
Good morning,
You've been
Rick. You're
fired.
on speakerphone.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, so Councilman Weinhofer is in attendance, just to be noted. We'll bring back the Finance and Admin Committee special budget meeting. Go ahead.
Draft number 2, we'll see that the year-end projection has improved due to the delayed start of the West Lawn Interceptor project. Draft 1 had included an estimate for timing that 30% of the project would fall in 25, with the balance falling in 26. What we've learned is that construction will be beginning in December, so there will be no 25 payment apps. So the only portion of that contract that will be a 25 expense is the first app that's been paid for the insurance mobilization bonds. So the balance has shifted to 2026. That improves to 25 projection, so that we will end the year most likely in the vicinity of a deficit of 1.9 million. That is $1 million worse than we had anticipated. Our overall fund balance at the end of 25 will be 7.4 million.
So talk to me about how the fact that we haven't gotten a RACP reimbursement, some other reimbursements play into that number.
We have less revenue than anticipated. The grants total $3,030,000 of revenue we did not receive. That was offset by expenses that we did not incur relative to the capital projects. Twofold, one being actual estimates, actual costs coming in less than the engineer's original estimates, and timing of things that are not going to occur in 25 that will fall into 26.
And what are we, just for the group, what are we thinking that $3,030,000 will be offset by work that we thought was going to happen, did not necessarily underages?
Some of it was under, and some of it is going to fall into 26.
Okay. How much of that $3 million roughly would we be offsetting that number by? So there's $3 million of income that we lost. We didn't lose, we just didn't get yet. Right.
Rebudgeted for
We rebudgeted.
26.
Now we have, how much of that 3 million is an expense? Is it all 3 million? How much do we think it might be?
Well,
roughly?
there was other factors in there. The revenues were $2 million less than anticipated. The grants were $3 million of that, but it was offset by an excess of local taxes that we did not budget for $600,000, and some other items that are listed there. We have expenses that came in less than budgeted. The West Lawn Interceptor,
Understood.
for example.
The amount of work that we budgeted for and did not do, not overages, underages, all that stuff, compared to the lack of grants that we got. Do we have an idea what that number is?
I have a list of those numbers. I don't have them with me. I can separate that 1,000,001 into what is,
Okay,
was performed and came in under budget versus what is carried over into next year.
So 1.1 million is the total of that.
It's a total of all
So
those.
it was less than 1.1 million dollars that's being pushed into 26. Thank you.
Does any of that shortfall have to do with the federal shutdown with the state budgeting pass?
The state budgeting impasse.
Not much though. I'd say that's just the DEP grant,
DEP grant is how much?
60.
60.
What about the RACP?
That is waiting on Office of Budget Compliance, but they're working.
I guess what I'm looking for is if we would have gotten the reimbursements for the work that's done, how would this budget look? On a revenue side and the expense side for that matter,
Well, if we had received RACP,
right?
it would be 2.4 million the other way.
So instead of having a $1.9 million deficit, we'd have a $500,000 benefit bonus. Is that a fair statement?
That is fair.
Then we would take that 2.1 and pay off the loan, so it's gone again.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, fair. The payoff
Yeah, so even when it comes in, it's not affecting
is
the
not
bottom line.
part of the 25 budget. Timing wise, we didn't expect to be able to
Right.
execute that, and it's not a requirement.
So we expected in 25, $2.4 million. We did not expect in 25 to write a check for $2.1 million to lower the line of credit
Correct.
or whatever that's called, the
Yes.
long-term debt. Therefore, it is a real number for 2020.
So we did write the $2.1 million?
No. We never budgeted that we were gonna,
Weren't anticipating making that early payment this year.
Either way, when it comes in and goes out, it's kind of,
not arguing that.
yeah.
But
But the reality is, when I
but
look
the
at the
rebate-
budget, instead of being $1.9 million negative, we would be close.
Yes.
We'd be $500,000 over
Yes.
what we budgeted for last year at this time.
The 2.1 repayment is part of next year's budget.
That I agree with. So the problem is we're going to get $2.4 million less of revenue in 20, we think, but maybe it'll come in yet, who knows? It's not coming in. It's not coming in. So now we have an artificial increase in revenue for 26 with the same offset of $2.1 million. So it's a $300,000 number.
Right.
So the reality is the budget was somewhere in a range of $500,000 better than what we thought,
Considering we took out a $5 million loan.
considering we took out $5 million. But that was all in the budget.
Right.
But the reality is, I don't have the cash.
No, I understand. I totally understand. But when you look at this, you say, holy shit, we're $1.9 million under budget, but we were expecting a $2.4 million check. That's the reality. Am I missing something?
No.
Okay, moving on.
Draft 2 of the proposed budget for next year has revenues totaling 27 million, expenses proposed at 30 million, and a proposed deficit of 2.4 million. When the projected 25 and the proposed 26 is added to fund balance, our overall fund balance is projected to be 4.3 million. What's critical is that the general fund is thrown into a deficit situation after we recognize reserves that we're aware of at this time.
Okay.
The reserves that we're aware of that we continue to carry, we reduce the MS4 reserve to 400,000. Continue to carry Equus money for future traffic studies of 89,000. Left of the proceeds from the loan that was set aside for future borough facilities would be 145. 225 has been allocated towards the exterior repairs of the firehouse. The entire reserve for the West Lawn Interceptor will be spent next year. We continue to carry 175,000, which was commercial
developer will require payments as their contribution to the upgrades for their development project.
for the pump station. We did discuss some future reserves that we could think about for streets, parks, pump stations, as well as air packs at the fire station. However, you can't reserve fund balance that doesn't exist, so I haven't.
Yeah, we're not gonna,
yet.
I think the reserves for street improvements are always planned out by the road tax
Except the road tax is a
know.
fraction of
of the total cost.
what had been.
I understand that. Okay.
The assumptions that's changed in the preparation of draft 2, we did receive from the county reduced abstract value. That's the result of the annual appeals. 63 properties were reduced for a total of $10 million. So that reduces our tax base for projections of taxes to be collected. As we discussed at the last meeting, water rates were increased, I estimated at 10%. At that time, we were waiting for the Western Berks Water Authority to report what next year's increase would be. There was some talk about some potential grants to offset some of their capital expenses. Jim spoke with members at Western Berks, and they indicated that they have not yet decided what that rate increase would be.
Not a firm number yet, but it's anticipated at least 10%.
That number, that 10% increase, was recognized both in the water purchases from them as well as the billing that will be going to the consumer. I was asked to raise the sewer rate. Wyomissing was the lowest of their local communities. I raised it to be approximately midway, about $150 per quarter, and that would actually equated to a 31% increase. Kind of hard to swallow, but that's what it would take to get us to the midway point. Refuse fees, as the contracts have been as we entered new contracts with a decrease in the total cost, the decrease was passed along to those using the refuse service, and that was 50% of the savings or 12.3%. So those revenues have been decreased. September CPI became available last Friday. We originally used 2.9, it came in at 3, so little change there. Selected items from the capital expenditure equipment were removed. Selected projects were removed from the infrastructure, and under facility maintenance, the only thing that's budgeted in draft 2 is the exterior work at the firehouse. Any questions on the assumptions that have been used? And I have an updated list of the capital projects if we'd like to revisit that.
Yes.
We removed the electronic library, the next phase of that, which would be for the accounting records. There was no changes to the police budget. The fire budget was changed to remove the entire renovation and just list the exterior, the air packs, the 50% not covered by the League Association, still budgeted at $96,000. Under storm sewer, we still have $150,000 for televising and repair. The scope for the leftover grant funds for the MTF grant were approved to move to the Woodland Plaza lining project as well as the Wayne Inlet project. So where the cost remains, I've added to revenue the anticipated revenue that would go with that. Construction costs, the remediation of Cleveland and Forest has been removed. We still have a $50,000 commitment to the MS4 coalition. Under street works, where we had 9 streets listed, we now have just 3. They're reducing that cost. We still have the 50/50 sidewalk program and miscellaneous paving. Under major equipments, where there were 2 dump trucks requested, just 1 remains, and the tree tractor and the brine dispenser have been removed. Under rec improvements, the work at Berkshire Heights Playground following the equipment installation has been reduced to just include the guardrails and the refuse containers for $64,000. The ice pond restoration has been removed. Under playgrounds, we reduced the amount to spend on the codes and repairs from $30,000 to $20,000. The other smaller items remain. Under parks, the money to be spent for the study recommendations was reduced from $50,000 to $25,000, with the understanding that there are still grants out there that are pending. Under the library, the plan for the plantings outside was removed with the thought that we could see community sponsors.
Can I just ask about the sign holders? We were using yard signs, and I'm questioning if we save $8,000, we just continue to use yard signs.
Well, the
Sign holders are just for the playground being
sign
closed?
holders are $1,000 each.
$1,000.
Okay,
The combined cost at Happy Hollow was for the backstop and the sign holder.
we're doing the backstop at Happy Hollow, but not the backstop at Berkshire Heights. At the, no, the backstops at
I
Happy
think
Hollow.
backstop at Berkshire Heights remains as well.
Okay. I just feel like $1,000 for more sign holders, just to say playgrounds closed during playground hours is a lot. That's just me.
It was a lot. The only cost under the water fund was to repave Old Mill. That was an estimate underneath the street contract. Under the sewer work, remaining is $225 for televising and repair. The West Lawn Interceptor are all the costs delayed from 2025. The costs for the pump stations, both at Wynwood and Fourth and Oley, have been removed and delayed till the end of 26 and 27. So that capital projects now total $2 million when the available grant revenue is netted against it. Question on remaining capital projects.
Anybody have any solid thoughts on where anything else might be able to get cut? Guess you could say we're at it.
I'm still of the mind that we're going backwards by removing stuff instead of starting at the beginning by what we need.
You want a zero base?
What?
You want the zero base?
I mean, I want a balanced budget. I do not want to be in deficit again this year.
They have information about all the assumptions that have been used. The reduced abstract and where that revenue decreased. Comparative millage to communities around us. Where my missing falls in terms of the municipal tax as well as the total tax. Any discussion there?
Yeah, can you put the total tax up? Because the municipal tax doesn't show, for example, it shows Spring much lower than us, but the reality is they're not.
They're not, because they have special assessments, which are not listed as part of the county chart.
Okay, so it won't be on the total tax either.
Correct.
I think it would be helpful if we maybe highlighted Spring has a recreation tax, Spring has fire tax, Spring has a streetlight tax.
Streetlight tax, based on the frontage of your property.
That are on top of that millage
I understand. That's my point, is it's not a real
number.
comparison. Chris, can you give us a brief overview of what an emergency services tax, or something along those lines would look like?
Well, under the Borough Code, there's a couple of possibilities for emergency services related special taxes. These would all be real estate taxes based on the assessed value of the property in the borough. There is a category for funding purchase of fire engines, fire apparatus, fire hose, training of personnel, purchase of land for a firehouse, erection and maintenance of the firehouse or fire training school, can be up to 3 mils, but no more than 1/2 of the revenue, and in any case not exceeding 1 mil, can be used for salaries, benefits, or other compensation of firefighting personnel. So this is a category that is related only to the fire service. There's another category that is for facilities, that is expenditures for a fire station, fire training school, lockup, or municipal building. And that category, you're allowed to collect up to 2 mils. And then there's a third category, which is for funding of expenses supporting ambulance, rescue, and other emergency services. Not more than 1/2 of the revenue can be used for salaries, benefits, or other compensation of emergency services personnel unless the Borough Council adopts a resolution waiving the restriction that it can only be used 1/2 for salaries, and that is a 1/2 mil. So in general terms, there is a fire service tax up to 3 mils, not more than half, or in any case, not more than 1 mil can be used for salaries, benefits, or other compensation. Second category is limited only to emergency service structures up to 2 mils. And the third category is up to 1/2 mil for ambulance, rescue, and other emergency services.
So when I read that, when I was reviewing that stuff, the part that comes to mind is the fire services. We are not unique, but we are definitely in the minority of having a fully staffed, 4-person per shift fire department that's putting out fires on Persona Avenue and everywhere else besides the borough of Wyomissing. I think it puts us in a unique situation. Unlike, not, I mean, just like Spring and anybody else who has a full-time fire department. It doesn't sound like there's an emergency services tax that we could use towards the police department, other than
For a police station.
for a police station, right? Somewhere down the road that'll happen. I think we need to at least consider, the residents don't understand what the cost of our emergency services are when we just say, hey, we're putting all this money into our general budget, and then here's how much goes to the fire department, here's how much goes to the police department, here's how much goes to maintenance of parks. At the end of the day, I think we need to start isolating the cost of what we can. And I think we can do that with some topic of a fire tax. It's not getting any cheaper. It's only going to get more expensive. So our choices are, in reality, have to fund it more so than what some of our neighboring municipalities are doing, because some of them have just a volunteer fire company, or consider cutting back on our fire department. And I don't know that we can sit back and say that we want to do that. I mean, I'm clearly not advocating for that. But something's got to get done. And the only way to highlight it to the taxpayers is to say we have a fire services tax, which will help us offset some of our monies that we'll be able to use in our general fund. So I think we need to, at some point, discuss that. I'll take any input from anybody else.
I think one of the things that you mentioned, and it all kind of blends together, you know, if we, and we're not decreasing fire protection services, but if we would pull back on things, okay, now we are faced with, as I said, our ISO rating, Insurance Services Organization rating, which reflects on fire insurance rates for commercial as well as residential properties. So we're looking good right now, okay? 10 being the worst, 1 being the best. I think we're at a 3. And we certainly don't want to lose that, okay? Because everybody benefits from that. Something that I think, in addition to the fire tax, we need to consider, and this is going to have to be next year, when we're going out on a lot more accident calls, MVAs, where we're popping doors and so forth. We can charge insurance companies for that, and insurance companies will pay that back to the borough. It's in the policies. You know, I reviewed my own policy and it's listed there. So that's something that I think we need to look at going forward. That we can charge for that. But you're right, Steve, we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. You know, of course, we want to serve anybody who calls and asks for our assistance. And why do they call us the most? Because, as you said, because we're a paid department. Spring Township is faced with the same, and so is Cumberland, and not to mention the city, of course. That's just,
I think it makes,
they don't want to see somebody show up with just the driver, because what's he going to do? You know, on a volunteer. If you don't have a staff, then you got to call more people in on top of it. You know, it's the way it is. Carsonia Avenue is a prime example. Third alarm for a residential home, you know, and that was strictly to get people there. To give the guys a relief. So I think it's warranted.
I'm not opposed looking into charging insurance. My question would be, what kind of labor and cost is that going to be to us going after the insurance company?
Gotta figure out what the net number is.
Right, and then additionally,
Yeah, there's-
like, if they have some sort of deductible, is that now homeowner having to pay the deductible before the insurance company? And now we look like we're charging the homeowners for fire safety. That's all.
No, it does not appear like that.
It could do something.
It could if they have a
Yeah.
deductible, yeah, and we go after the insurance company, and the insurance company says there's a deductible, so now the homeowner owes us $500 for
That we're not gonna
$1,000.
decide today anyway.
Right,
Right, that's down the road.
yeah, I just wanted to
But
mention.
we would, to determine if that makes any sense. How much do you charge for a door opening or whatever? And, you know, how does that really affect the overall budget? I mean, it can't be.
I have numbers for that.
Okay, well, that's something I think fire and police need to discuss.
But I agree that we need to raise awareness of what these services cost.
I agree.
Tax is one way to do that.
Okay, so if there was a if there was I'm just gonna call it emergency services tax, because we haven't decided if we're gonna do anything. But if there was one, obviously we'd use those revenues for the fire department. That would free up money under the general fund. Fair statement?
There are other expenses in the general fund that would be emergency related. We pay the dispatching fee. The Relief Association has picked up the fire piece, but we would have police as well as ambulance. We have a fee that we pay to the West Side Regional Emergency Center. We also pay the Western Berks Ambulance Association. Those three numbers are.
So we could use that from Western Berks Ambulance
Well,
Association.
that $500,000 for ambulance rescue and other emergency services, those things that Phyllis is talking about now with, dispatch, Western Berks, or
The ambulance.
the ambulance, I mean, how much do those?
Those total 276,000.
Okay, so that's about $250,000.
Like 2.7 mils.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be within that $500,000 cap for ambulance rescue and other emergency services. And I don't know how much of that would be for salaries and benefits, but you can waive that restriction under that category and allow the entire amount to be used for any related ambulance rescue or emergency service expense. Okay. And that could be an alternative to a fire tax, or it could be in addition to a fire tax.
So you're saying we would have, if that was, just to make it $250,000, we'd put it in emergency services, that would be an emergency services tax, but if we still wanted the fire tax, it would be a separate tax.
Yeah, you can also.
You can't use the $250,000 under the fire tax to help pay for those things we just talked about?
No, because those things that Phyllis just listed, the dispatch, arguably, some of that is fire, obviously, but
No, there is no fire
Relief
dispatch
Association.
in the 26 budget because we've counted on the Relief Association.
okay, all right, fine.
Dispatch is for the police and for the ambulance.
Right, so those, the ambulance, the dispatch, and what was the third thing?
Emergency management,
Emergency management, none of those would qualify as expenditures under the fire tax.
none of them would.
Well,
Not on-
you're telling me that
Under the
Not
fire.
on
the fire tax.
the third one.
Chris, are we understanding correctly? John and I were just talking. I always thought the way the EMS tax was worded, you could use it towards police costs.
Well, there is, the EMS tax is, I mean, you have like a per capita EMS, like
Social
$52.
services tax.
Civil services tax, okay. That can be used for police. But there is no police category under the borough code.
I just always took the emergency personnel in that explanation to include police, but they're apparently specific to ambulance.
Well, okay. When I read the sentence in the borough code, ambulance, rescue, and other emergency services, you could read that broadly to include police, but I think it's intended more for medical related. But I mean, it's a matter of interpretation, and I could be persuaded either way. But I don't think, as I read it, that it doesn't appear to be,
So you're saying the safe way to do it, if there is an increase, is to say we have an emergency services tax of something and we have a fire tax of something. Then we can sort of separate the two
yeah, I mean, the half
and
mil,
we
I
actually
would,
have a little more
if you,
clarity to what people are paying.
if you want to explain that half, if you want to use the full half mil and use some of it for police, I mean, obviously, I guess most people would consider police to be emergency service providers. And
I would hope.
so,
And that dispatching number I gave you does include police dispatching.
right.
One thing, a lot of the language that comes out of what you're reading, that's coming from the fire commissioner's office. That's why it's focused so much on fire and EMS, because that's coming out of the state fire commissioner's office. There's some proposed bills, according to what I've been reading in the Boroughs magazine, that they want to soften the restrictions. They meaning the fire commissioner's office, but nothing's happened with that yet.
I think though, we got to recognize that it's coming out of our residents' pockets.
No doubt.
Whether it's in
Yeah.
one piece in the general fund,
No
or
doubt.
it's itty bitty pieces like Spring Township, it's still coming out of the residents' pocket.
No doubt.
And I think therefore it's an educational thing that we have to somehow or another figure out a clear way of explaining what people are paying for. And I think it requires comparison to other municipalities' way of doing it. But the bottom line is it's coming out of their pockets.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. But I think if a tax increase happens, to say this increase is specifically going to, which is, I guess, it's just giving us delineation of how much money, gives them some indication of how much money we're spending on these different emergency service departments, which doesn't help pave a road. It's important. I mean, it's vitally important. I'm not trying to say it's not vitally important. The police and the fire, what do you do without them, right? So we live in a town that has a good ISO rating, as Bill said. Most people don't have any clue of that, and I understand that. They'll only understand it if it goes to 0.6. Then they'll understand it pretty quickly. But we gotta, in this age of transparency, this just makes it a little bit more transparent on where we're spending some of the money. Are we gonna be able to increase taxes to the point that it covers a fire services tax covers everything that we want to cover, that we've been covering now? No, hell no. But, you know, we're here at the budget part, we're at a $1.9 million deficit. And we need, our fire costs are escalating. Our police costs aren't escalating as high if you don't count the insurance part of it. And let's face it, whatever $1 million used to get us to pave a road in the last 5 years is a lot less than what we got before. So we have two choices. You just sit there and just say, we're going to use up all our funds and be done with it, and then let some other council deal with the problem. Or we have to at least say, if there is a tax increase, what specifically we're using that increase for. And I think the way to do it is for that. Ultimately, it's dollars in the door and dollars out the door. I understand that. But it frees up some general fund money. At least if we have to raise taxes, it doesn't give us or any other council the ability to really mess with those dollars, because it has to go for those services. Unless, of course, they get rid of the tax and just add it back to the general fund, which they would have the right to do. So, Fred, I totally agree. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's called a tax.
Right, and it has to increase.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Ultimately, for 26's budget, now we're going to go back to the budget. Ultimately, for 26's budget, I understand that earlier in this meeting, I was talking about our budget is off by 1.9,
Yeah, that's this year.
sorry,
Next year is 2.8.
2.4. Right. So this year we're up by 1.9, only offset by mostly. So if you factor in what we would have gotten in that $60,000 grant and the other grant, the RACP grant, would have been better than where we thought. It wasn't going to eliminate the problem of 26 when we had to pay that, use the money that we got in to pay off for the $2.1 million. So.
But 26, that all that money showing up as revenue in 26.
Yes.
And we're still at $2.4
2.5
million.
is revenue for 26 and 2.1 as an expense for the debt payback,
Right.
the one-time repayment.
So even though we have a $2.4 million deficit in 26, that includes all the money that was supposed to show up this year.
I wouldn't count on it for budgeting purposes, but there's a decent probability we're gonna get more like 2.7 back from RACP.
I've used 2.5.
From RACP.
Yes.
So how do you save $2.4 million? Obviously, there's one way. You increase revenues. I don't know what else you're going to cut on here unless, because we are going to do roads. We have to do $500,000 worth of roads. Anybody else have any bright ideas? Because I'm out of them. Well, I got one left.
We spend a ton of money on the pool, on the playgrounds, on recreational facilities.
And what's your recommendation to do?
I don't know, but I know we spend and lose a lot of money. We got to charge more, we got to do less.
I agree. We need to, some of that stuff needs to go up in the revenue side, but it's insignificant.
Right.
Break down by department.
Wouldn't be insignificant if we looked at the 3,000 people that showed up for the Happy Hollow program last week and charged them $3. And you did that for all the events. It's not chump change anymore when you look at.
No, I would agree. I mean, that's something you can look
That's
at.
something we could do, because we do a lot of things that are altruistic that we don't charge for.
Right.
Most
And
people-
that's about $1 million, that costs us about $1 million a year, I
Right.
think,
Just out of
500,000.
curiosity, out of 3,000 people that you said were there,
John, I said 2, he said 3, so
how many of them, what percentage do you think were not borough residents?
75%.
How would you tell?
I'm asking, it was a
What would
guess.
you get?
So my point is,
Well, and you
I don't know how you'd even charge for, I'm just
you
gonna,
can't limit access. If you had a one
You can
access
limit
point,
you can limit advertising.
you can do that, but you can't limit access. You can
Right.
go into,
But you could charge
It's no
admission.
different than showing up on Carsonia Avenue to fight the fire.
Or on
Agreed.
4th of July, which is our most expensive
Right.
event.
Right,
Why missing people going to government community days or?
right,
But they pay for stuff at community
Yeah, they
days.
pay big time there.
yeah. Yeah, communities is expensive.
So many trucks there.
Tickets,
There's percentages
Yeah.
of all that.
I'm picturing the Easter egg hunt, you know.
Easter egg.
How the hell do you charge for that?
Well, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at 3,000 people on Sunday. The cars were all over Wyomissing.
I mean, I think it's a really valid point though, but if we
No,
wanna-
I'm
if we
not
wanna
arguing
look
that.
to
You
start-
can't say it's $2 or $5 for a family or something like
If
that.
we want to legitimately start charging though, we have to look at how are we actually able to leverage the events to charge?
And I don't
we're
know, how do you prevent access?
Well, I'm not talking about access. How do we provide a service that people will pay for to show up? That's when we have to perhaps have the bigger conversation. We have other levers we can pull for revenue generation. We can open up some of our vendor policy. We could look at maybe relaxing the alcohol on public lands policy. And we can bring in vendors that can charge those high ticket items. So we're not charging per person. We're providing a service that people are willing to pay for otherwise. That's a lever for revenue that
So
we
you
have
want to sell alcohol in the park for an event?
for an event.
For an
I
event.
mean, I think that's a reasonable thing we can look at for events, but we're prevented from doing that today.
We'd have to look in to see what
John, you ready to have a heart attack?
hold harmless agreement against the borough would be.
I think our meeting should be an event.
The reality is, I don't think we're ever gonna sell alcohol in the park because our insurance, that,
That would be
yeah, I don't-
And the clay
ludicrous.
Well, I'm not sure how West Reading does it.
They do it well.
They have to make a ton of money or they're losing a lot of money. Because when you go in there, whatever they could call, we're gonna have a Tuesday event and there's 4,000 people for Tuesday. And then somebody said, let's do Friday. Let's do Friday. There's trucks everywhere. Somebody's paying something for that. And
No
that's a
alcohol.
lot of
I
money.
don't think of that.
Well,
Well,
I
you're
don't
right,
know
for
if
they have
special
that.
events, you're right, for
Yeah.
special events.
All
there-
those,
They have
when they
special
quote,
events, I mean, you look around at other areas and other municipalities offer something similar. I mean, I get the fact that there can be impacts to everything that we offer, but just outright dismissing it, saying it's going to be too expensive without running it
I
down
didn't
to
say it was
ask
gonna be
questions.
expensive, I just said, we got an insurance problem, potentially.
well, I'm gonna ask West Reading, how the hell do you do this? You put there's like 50 events in West Reading. You can't get in and out of West Reading in a good day when they're doing these things. So they must be making a ton of money. If they're not, ask them.
Well, West Reading pays
That
that.
point of view-
It's under the Main Street.
It's a community
Program.
foundation that does it. I would actually talk to Spring because Spring has something, I mean, they have like a wine and cheese event.
Yeah.
So there's gotta be a way municipalities do it, that insurance is not too restrictive and they're able to recoup costs.
So we ask
Okay.
them and see how they do it.
Fine,
So
so
it
we can
works.
move on that part, but I'm just trying to picture using Spooky Hollow as an example. If there were 3,000 people there, you charge $3, or maybe you charge $5 for a family and $3 for a person, whatever. It's $8,000-9,000. How are we gonna police where they go in? We're gonna do the godforsaken thing of putting a fence around the whole place? I mean, how do you do that?
I don't know, but it's worth brainstorming.
Some of the West Reading ones would temporarily fence off with hay bales or ropes or for alcohol area versus non-alcohol area.
Picture fencing off Happy Hollow.
Well, not an actual fence, not like a permanent.
already-
fence.
I understand,
It's already
a snow
fenced.
fence, I get it.
Yeah,
It's already fenced.
I'm not sure Happy
I
Hollow.
mean, I think if you're gonna do that, you'd have to charge for events, not to
Right.
access. That's the way you do it.
Right, or we do fewer events and make them smaller.
Yeah, I think this town doesn't want to do fewer events. This town needs to do more events. It's part of the fabric of this community. What's your thoughts on the pool and the playground?
They cost us close to $100,000 a year.
So what do you want to do about it?
Raise prices.
Okay.
Cut
How
spend.
much did we raise the prices of the pool and playground this year, at all?
I defer to Randy on that one.
Playground went up $10, $15 if you joined evening as well. So that brings in an extra $5K if.
And the recommendation out of
Well,
the
there's no
pool committee
increase.
was no increase, as we had the increase last year, and they recommended no increase. So they feel like they're at an appropriate price level overall, but again, that's just their recommendation, council can do as it pleases with those.
Okay,
those
so
numbers.
let's say we raise, if you're saying that that $10 and $15 increase raised $5,000?
Well, it was about a 5% increase. I mean, it's $1 a week.
So you raise it by an additional $10, we have another $5,000 or $10,000. I agree, it helps, but it's not.
No, but I mean, everything's
Playground and
getting more
pool have
expensive.
Always been loss leaders, and we're gonna have some bigger bills coming up with the pool.
I
We know we
think
are.
budgets for some of these events can go down too. The budgets consistently go up every year. I mean, we spend about $3,000 a week on playground supplies and materials and events. And I think that's excessive for somebody who's paying $160 for a summer.
Well, if you've got,
I think we're doing
you have
too
the
much.
pool and you have the playgrounds, and they're sort of, we don't invite the world. That's just a cost. They go there, they have fun. We're saying, we gotta raise that cost. But then we have, I'm not taking a shot at anything, but all the things we do, Frank Sinatra, this one, that one, I mean, it costs us money to do those. And we have no idea who goes there from Wyomissing, but a lot of people go there. So if it's costing us to do that, and we want to do it because that's what Wyomissing does, I take exception to that, because Wyomissing never did all of that. If we're going to do all of that, then find a way to make it a revenue stream, or don't do that because that cost is up there somewhere.
Randy, the sponsorships cover the cost of Frank Sinatra.
No.
How much more would you have to charge for a sponsorship to cover the cost of Frank Sinatra?
All the average cost for one of the performances is about $1,000.
What's it cost to be a sponsor?
Asking people to pay.
No,
We don't have
what's
set-
the
we don't
what's
have
the
set-
cost of XYZ company sponsoring Frank Sinatra at the Wyomissing Park?
It could be anything from $100 to $1,000 to pay for the whole thing.
Can I inject,
For example,
we used to, when Diane was here, we used to get sponsors for the concerts.
Yeah.
But we didn't do all these other things. So now instead of sponsoring specific concerts, community, commercial entities are just making a general donation to the rec department. So it's difficult to go back to the same people, a bank or insurance agency who has given a donation for the general recreation program to now ask, and will you sponsor a specific concert or movie event? So the
it's hard
donations
to-
that are made now are general and they're not concert specific.
I think we also, at this point, I think we try to work both sides of the coin, because we want to ask rec to go out and continue to generate sponsors for events, but on the same time, we don't allow what we consider advertising in parades. So we make folks pull signs off a truck. So it's, again, that's to me a really hard line to split. We'll let somebody plaster their name on an event, but we won't let somebody drive their truck in a parade.
Well, there's only so much land area to put real estate on going through. I mean, we got $10,000 from the Mummers. That's a lot of money. If you do big things like that to bring in all the people, then you got a pretty big budget that you're out there soliciting funds for.
So again,
to answer your question, Steve, we have raised over $20,000 for general donations for the year. That was a general fundraising campaign. Then throughout the year, I would go into different businesses. Newcastle paid $1,000 for the haunted house. Fast Bridge Fiber gave $500. So there's money that is raised for specific events, but then there's the general fund, as Phyllis was talking about as well.
So I mean, if there's appetite to change how we do those operations as rec, where if what I'm kind of hearing coming out at the moment is that you don't necessarily want events to move forward unless they're fully sponsored. Is
No, I
kind of
didn't
what
say
I'm
that.
hearing.
I didn't say that at all.
Okay, so is there some criteria? So if that's not what we're after, is there a criteria for how much we want an event to be sponsored? Or is there a better maximum budget that we want for events. I mean, that's why we break the rec budget out into all of the different line items. So we could say, hey, we're spending, too much on movies, we're spending not enough on this. We have those events broken out where it's not just one big pot of money. So if we're saying, hey, you know what, maybe we need to save money, maybe we need to cut an event altogether. I mean, we can look at what the rec budget is and we can say, okay, don't do the egg hunt this year because it costs us money. We're going to save that $5,000, or don't do specific event this year. So we have that laid out. If that's where
$5,000 for, just using your numbers, I'm not saying they're accurate. I'm not saying you're inaccurate.
No, I get you.
But $5,000 for a community event, I think, is part of the fabric of this community, and what makes people want to come to this community. And the more I get that you cut, the less attractive this community becomes.
Well, let's just say not including pool and playground, just events, we have an increase of budget of $17,000. So how about we just not increase that $17,000 budget? I feel like all of these things could continue at the rate that they're at, but that's just my thought.
How about we raise the
No.
playground fees by $10 more and the pool by $10? How much does that offset the $17,000?
I think what you risk there is people dropping out. So you can't guarantee that, like Jen said, that raises $5,000.
I don't think anybody's gonna drop out of the playground for $10. It's the world's cheapest babysitting event in the world.
It is.
Well, I think you're right. You have playground, you have pool.
I don't know you can raise it for the pool, because you're right, now you have an offset that you raise it too high for the pool, you have less people.
The other way to do that would be, which I had suggested at one point, would be to raise the daily rate. And if that daily rate's a little bit higher, maybe you get a few less people coming on the daily rate, but maybe they get a membership.
Randy, can you work on increasing rates a little bit for that kind of stuff? We're still talking about peanuts to $2.4 million.
I know. We're cutting all the other budgets. I feel like our event budgets need to maintain the cost that they're at.
Just keep in mind that the price of everything has gone up.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that.
So what you bought last year for $1 doesn't cost $1.
I know, but I think we're talking egg hunt, it's just not, don't advertise.
Every year.
No, we get them.
No, they
We
turn,
Get them filled.
Some
they turn them in.
Some years we have to
buy
buy
them.
new ones,
Buy
but we
something.
generally try to.
When I was
renew
on-
them, so.
Yeah, I remember
We have
2 bottles of wine, you could stick all this stuff in the eggs.
We have a few community
Yeah, a
groups
lot were
that we've
bought
cultivated
pre-COVID.
relationships with. that
My
kind of-
wife and I, 2 bottles of wine.
Unite coordination when we have 2 bottles.
Yeah, the other thing, just to make sure I'm clear as we look at this budget, there are times as we get into these events, that as we get closer to them, Randy goes out and can solicit individual donations for events,
Yeah.
which would then increase that budget with an offsetting revenue. We're still okay with those sorts of things. Like if we're saying keep the budgets the same, but now he goes out and gets sponsorship, that's going to bump up some of those budgets with an offsetting
Well,
revenue.
why wouldn't that money just go towards the
All right.
budget instead of offsetting? Like, I'm still of the mindset that we need to start with turning the lights on and work our way up. And every year we start with all the projects everybody wants, plus maybe some
Okay,
padding.
let's talk about bigger
Down.
items then. I mean, I get
Yeah.
rec is, but it's a small ticket item. It's a user, it could be considered, when my kids went to playground, I considered my payment to that a user tax. It is
Right.
what it is.
But the balance of that's being paid for by the senior citizens who don't have that.
Whose grandkids may be there, whose kids.
Right, I know, I agree.
Used to go
I
there. all
totally
that.
agree. I'm
I
just
mean,
trying to lessen that window.
I think it is,
Who's
I
not.
think our rec department is part of the fabric of this community. and
I
if it's
agree.
Too much, we got a problem.
Well, we already charge, we already charge a fee. If you want to play baseball, Wyomissing, we were charging $150, almost $200 a player. And that went to uniforms and everything else. And we did our own fields and we did all that. So in my opinion, if you have set things that are the heart and soul of Wyomissing, then it is what it is. And we already charge people to do that. Then take that out of the equation. It's all the other things we do that is now part of the new Wyomissing that have to be the things that I think Jen's talking about. How much do all these other things cost? Because the pool and the playground, and the baseball fields and the swim team, that stuff is part of what we do. So we can't put that out of existence. We have to just sort of
Randy,
do
how
it.
many people go to playground? Roughly.
About 423 kids between all morning and night.
So if you charge $10 more a kid, you got $4,300. I think that's the lowest hanging fruit there is. It's the cheapest babysitting on the planet. But $4,300 on a $2.4 million deficit is, we're wasting our time here. Not really, but
No, but it's like, let's just agree to do it and move on. You know, you
see
just
what you can
have
do to
to,
increase the revenue for the playground to Randy, maybe by $10.
playground's already been recommended to go up
Well,
10
that's what he's
during the
saying.
day
He
and
wants 10
5 and
more,
10
he
more.
wants 10 more dollars past the recommended, so we're gonna up
Yeah.
playground.
$10 per
fees
kid.
$20.
over 8 weeks is $1.20, $1.12 a week.
Yeah.
Where's our membership, pool membership as compared to West Reading
Can we get
and
off the rec stuff? It is, for these things that we're talking about, not counting
If it's-
capital budgets, it is
if it's not
a
substantial,
$2.4 million deficit that we're dealing with. How about we talk about maybe the potential of that we have to cut some employees? Boy, how's that sound?
Well, our budget has increased employees.
That's what you gotta do when you gotta do it. Look at it.
I have a side note, which is also small, but why are we paying the credit card fees for these residents who are using their credit cards for their water bill? That credit card fee should be pushed onto the residents.
Too.
it is.
We do, but it's
Following month.
we have a $5,000 cost every
When you
year.
accept a credit card live, you don't have a choice. You cannot pass that. We add a convenience fee
Okay,
and we take it over the phone or when they go online. There's regulations as to when you can charge a fee. The fees that you see are at the front counter.
and if they pay with a credit card at the front counter, you can't charge a convenience fee.
That was my understanding as,
I mean, I charge,
you
pay
can't go into
convenience.
the Gap and
I thought Kim was,
Yeah.
like, on the water, I thought that was being billed on the next
Just
bill,
check.
that 3% fee.
we charge a fee when you call in, charge a fee when you go online.
Okay.
When you go to the front counter, when we set that up, we were told we could not charge a fee.
And I think we do away with credit cards.
Yeah, get rid of credit
The
cards.
acceptance of credit cards was to get people who are delinquent.
Yeah, you're now gonna have more delinquencies, and which is gonna make your process worse.
For the people who can't pay their water bill, their problem is with the credit card company rather than with the borough.
Okay, thank you.
Totally agree with that.
And or you're looking at more bounce checks.
And we don't accept corporate credit cards. We don't allow people to come in and pay a hotel water bill.
Can we get
Get
to
all
a
these
bigger,
mileage.
get to the bigger?
Yep.
Jen, I think your ideas are great. Don't get me wrong.
I hear you. I know we got a lot. Go.
We don't have a lot to go because we don't have a lot of time to go, but we have a long way to go. So what do we have in there for, obviously, we have contractual issues with personnel. How many new employees are we planning on hiring?
Our staffing levels. New staffing, we're replacing at the firehouse, the fire chief, and we're replacing 2 entry-level firefighters. So there's no new staff. The only new body is a part-time administrator.
Good.
Currently,
Part-time being part-time, no benefits, right?
right,
And you have,
currently we have 68 employees because of those vacancies. Projecting to end the year of 26 with 71 employees.
So, not saying we're gonna do it, but anybody who retires, I don't think we're gonna replace them next year. Everybody who's left can't be replaced.
She needs to be replaced.
Well, if they retire, they'll likely be replaced by somebody.
At a lower
A lower
level.
rate.
Yeah.
I would maybe defer until we have the next personnel meeting and
I'm
look
not,
at some
I'm not recommending anything. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I get it.
The only thing I would say is, I've pounded around with this, those inspections that Ethan was off the charts when it came to inspections. Like, I always felt like, why is the fire chief doing all these inspections? There should be somebody in the fire department that does those. And if you do enough of them, you're bringing in $100,000 or more, depending on how many the guy does. And that seems to just sort of,
We have to, as a borough, look to better find ways to increase revenues other than taxes. I would totally agree with that. We also have to, boroughs, find a way to start cutting some expenses. That is the biggest expense we have,
Staffing.
staffing. So to say it's not on the target, I'm not saying we need to cut anybody now, but shit, we keep cutting roads out and cutting services out for our parks and doing all that stuff. What are the parks and maintenance guys and gals really doing? I mean, I don't want to cut anybody. I want everybody to be employed. But we're getting to a point that we have to do something. Obviously, we have to discuss it, some kind of a tax. But where else do we see in this budget that we can cut enough money that we can cut that $2.4 million with not counting a net of a tax increase?
Well, another question is whether we can take things in-house. And we're looking at the expenses for engineering fees, a couple $100,000.
Yeah, but keep in mind, we bill,
Right, but if we had somebody in-house, you're saying we couldn't bill that out?
I would assume it's like,
build that out.
Okay, so that's not an answer to the question.
but is it like codes, Chris, that, I mean, I think of the time I spent as a zoning officer or property maintenance doing like code inspections and things that we would charge, say, a permit fee for versus time it actually took in the offset. Like, we couldn't generate revenue based off of,
No, you can't generate revenue. And truthfully, the way that for those developer services that the borough does, I think you come way ahead by having an outside contractor do that. Because if you had an in-house person,
Paid that.
you have permanent costs, pensions, and
Health insurance.
insurance and stuff like that. I think for that part of it, you're much better off contracting.
There's also extensive training that those people have to go through that we would then have to have our in-house people go through. That is the engineer's problem now.
Spring Township just took 2 years to find a replacement engineer.
So I think the other thing in that same vein, Steve, to look at is professional services overall. Maybe it's time we do a refresh across the board for professionals that we engage with and maybe start a RFP process for some of those different things that we can look at and see if there's any cost savings that we can realize through that type of process.
And those would be your attorneys, your
Engineering.
Engineers.
I personally would not feel comfortable switching to another code inspection agency, knowing the firms that are out there and what craft standard is compared to others, and that is from 17 years of experience, but I'm not saying we can't look at it.
So I think
You
that's,
could still do it,
yeah, that's a really fair
and
point.
say, well, your rates are double these guys,
But
you know.
right, I mean,
but yeah.
to Steve's point, we got to start looking at some of those big ticket items. So maybe we need to get on a regular schedule of reviewing our professional contracts through those committees and making sure we are paying competitive rates overall.
And I'm all in favor of that, as long as we're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges.
I mean, that would be the whole point of going through the RFP process with those, so we can
Right,
lay
you
out.
just don't look at a number,
Can I ask you a question?
look at services.
You spend like $97,000 a year on economic development. What does that go towards? And what's,
In grant writer,
okay.
and I would say
brings
that
in
pays
X for that money.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
That's probably the best investment we have.
Yeah.
Steve, we did look at utility rates too.
Yep, I was just gonna say, we need to start looking at that other revenues. We're fighting over minutia in reality, and it's not gonna help us this year. Go ahead.
For the utility rates, the budget for '26 already includes a 10% increase for water. That's a pass-through of what we're anticipating getting from the Western Berks Water Authority. I was asked to move the sewer rate from being the cheapest in the area to about mid-range. That moved the cost from $114 to $150. and that represents a 31% increase.
So it's $114 per resident that you're telling us?
For 15,000
Per
gallons.
For
household, yeah.
15,000, right, for
This is
15,000.
the quarterly bill. Wyomissing has historically been the cheapest.
Yeah.
To move Wyomissing from 114 to mid-range, which was between Hamburg and Mount Penn. When you move 114 to 150, that's a 31% increase.
I get it.
What that represents to a consumer's bill is a quarterly bill going from $85 to $150. That's a $64 increase. So with a water increase of $9, a sewer increase $64, a refuse decrease passing along the savings of the new contracts, the average consumer bill will go from $320 to $376, a $55 increase per quarter, or a 17%. So that is what the current draft of the budget.
Again, that's not helping us any either. Doing that is still creating a $2.4 million deficit.
Let me ask, the water fund goes towards paying the water bills and all of the water projects. Does any of that money come out of the general fund to help with water stuff?
Out of the, I'm sorry.
Like,
I don't
so
follow.
does taxpayer money go towards water improvements?
No, the.
All funded by the water
Water
fund?
funds, which are water, sewer, and refuse, the fees cover those costs.
Of all the redevelopment and repair work and everything, so
Yes.
sewer's fully
They
covered, and then,
also pay back to the general fund an overhead transfer fee on a monthly basis.
So it actually
For all the
helps,
indirect
actually helps
costs
the entire
related to
borough.
those Operations,
Just a third of the borough, 2/3 of the borough.
payroll taxes, insurance, those types of
Right.
things, management.
right,
So the reality of it is,
Yes.
we're helping.
right.
I know we're getting, sometimes,
Well, it's-
I lived in the hills, I get it.
No, I'm just seeing
I
where all
get
the
it.
money is general fund versus funds as well.
I don't know that we have much of a choice to increase what we gotta increase. I mean,
Right.
all we're gonna do is make it $2.5 million. We don't. I get it. I mean, we can turn around and say, we're charging you what the increase is, and with the refuse rates going down, we're actually helping you with that. We're being transparent on the increases. I'm sorry. I mean, I have the biggest water bill in Wyomissing, I think.
You know,
No.
I feel like, that.
You don't have teenage kids taking a shower every couple hours.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Not as often as I used to, but
Stop hooking your.
what else do we have?
so you're good on those utility?
I'm not good on them, but I don't know that we have a choice.
Do we take the refuse rate and decrease it a little bit less? Not that we want to make any,
I would argue
Yeah.
against doing that because you want to start building that fund balance back up.
oh, that's right, okay.
A draft
Oh.
two,
Plus, we need.
Decrease.
Yeah, I'm saying decrease it
We need-
less, like, we
Oh.
decrease the refuse rate by 12.3%. Do we just decrease it by 10%? I don't know.
Got a bigger
Again,
budget
that-
problem.
I know.
refuse fund.
No, that'll
is
help.
nothing for the
That'll
That'll help the
general
budget.
deficit.
What's that?
And it will help the refuse fund build its fund balance. It doesn't.
Not the general, right.
I would argue if we don't do it the whole 12%, then we gotta not increase the sewer rates by the same 12%, so we're at a net neutral number. All right, refuse fees, what else we got going here?
Taxes, that's the last piece of the puzzle.
So, I'm not recommending it, but you raised the whole thing a point, we're still at negative $1.4 million.
2.4.
Now, if we raise taxes a whole point, whole
A
mill,
whole mill, okay,
we're still at negative $1.4 million.
correct.
Good.
Anything else out of the capital projects?
Well, the police department is asking for $18,000. I don't know what else you can cut. Fire department, other than the station, which they really can't control, is asking for everything but air packs. I don't know what we can cut there.
We can take the extra truck we said to Public Works, and, Greg said he could do too, but we can cut that truck for next year, so it doesn't really solve the problem, it just makes next year a little better.
Do we cap our 50/50 sidewalk program? We have, I know we want to help these guys, but do we only
What did the
help?
cap
Used to be
It
50.
used to be 50,
And what do we have in their budget?
80, isn't it?
80.
Let's
The
cap,
reality of this year is over 100.
yeah, this year. 'cause
How
we
many
pushed it really
specific
hard.
Well,
people
that's
have
because
signed
Craft
up?
Code sent out so many notices.
Slightly over 50 residents.
Slightly over 50 residents.
Let's cap our
But
cost at,
Craft Code sent out so many letters.
Right.
let's cap our cost at $50,000 for that.
So I'll just ask the question, in the 50/50 project, are we actually, are the residents helping us to do what we know we have to do because our trees are
We're helping,
eating us alive?
and we're helping them.
Sidewalks are the
They have to pay for the sidewalk even if it's our trees.
Oh, I understand, but if you stop doing it, then will they be doing less of that?
I would think so, because we're giving them money to help fix the problem as opposed to giving them nothing not to fix the problem.
But ultimately, we also started enforcing the ordinance, so they don't have a choice one way or another.
Yeah, let's cap it. My recommendation is to cap it at $50,000 and see what happens. And first in, first out, first in gets it. If you don't get it, you don't get it.
Have we already approved all these people and said we're gonna do
Yeah.
it for them?
Oh,
Well, this year's a done deal.
This
Yeah.
year's, or
this year, I'm talking about next year.
next,
And you're saying the cap would be,
Our spend is $50,000.
Every incoming application.
Yep.
yeah. Or we drop it from $1,000 per household to $750 per household, and then we can get a few more households in.
Let's cap it at 50. We'll figure out how to do that part later.
Are we citing our residents for problems related to the sidewalks?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's gonna cause some sort of a issue.
That's why we had why it was so popular this year.
That's why the program started 10 years ago to begin with.
I understand, but if you back off the program, are you gonna have less people doing it? You'll be
The
citing them.
intent when it was started was never to continue it in perpetuity. It was to do it for 5 years and, okay, we gave you notice, we tried. Infrastructure was like, let's keep doing it.
No, I understand, but are you now gonna have a lot of people getting cited because our ordinance people are gonna go after them and that's gonna cause?
I wouldn't say cited. Are they gonna get enforcement notices they need to comply? Yes.
Well, do we wanna do that?
We
There
did
you are.
we did it this year.
I know, because it stops and it starts, but if you stop it completely and you just say, okay, you fix your own sidewalk.
Well, the flip side of the coin is the 50/50 program was supposed to stop
5 years ago.
5 years ago. We've extended it, we're doing it, but we have a budget problem. So let's cap it at $50,000 for next year.
Got it.
And move on. And if we decide instead of $1,000, we give them $750, that gets more people to do it.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
For 400 or 500.
Specifically for exec session.
Okay.
And we have to do the backstop at Happy Hollow and the signs and the pool lights and the tennis court rehab. Those are all must-haves.
Randy,
No, you can get away with that.
without the pool lights?
The backstop's the reason behind that is safety issue.
Steve, can we break quick so I can stop and restart the camera?
We're gonna take a 30-second break.
Okay, you're back in business.
Okay, we're back in contract. All right, so is there a way to do the $7,000 in-house and fix what we got?
6,000,
I'm talking about for the backstop.
right? One
6 for the backstop and for the 1,000 for the sign for each playground.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's one thing. Guess I should put my glasses on. Is there a way we can do that in-house, Randy?
There was a Greg and I had a conversation going to the school and to see if they would fund that.
Good luck.
It wouldn't even do the paint in the street going from,
Crosswalk.
yeah.
Well, these are such peanuts. I mean, I get, we got.
I know, but the peanuts add up eventually.
Can we, $7,000 would have someone come in and do it, right? 6,000 was to have someone come in and do it. And we can't just get some fence and glue it together at the bottom for now.
I think that's more of a Greg question. His guy could probably do it, but it takes him away from other things that they're doing.
I agree, but we're running out of things to do if we keep cutting the budget, so,
Okay.
Tennis courts and the spotlights and the sign holders, what about that? Another 6,000, 7,000.
what's the tennis court rehab?
Power
No,
washing.
Greg's not here.
Replacing patches where there's holes.
Keep
It was-
in mind too.
It was doing work in-house rather than having someone come in
think.
We have an agreement with the school district.
Cost check.
to maintain those. Yeah. That was a less expensive alternative.
It's a rotating thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's for resurfacing
That's
specific.
when it made.
Let's take out the transport rehab until we discuss it with the school and see if we can do something in-house. Take out the spotlights for the pool. What's the spotlights for, Randy?
The backside of the pavilion, when we had moonlight stands, it's dark, it's really dark back there. There's no
Let's-
light.
Let's go buy some Ryobi battery operated lights and put them in there for now.
Just some
Sorry.
solar powered lights on the corner would work. $30 from Home Depot.
Let's get rid of,
Solar-powered
let's get rid of
spots on the
$1,000
corner.
for the signs.
Sign holders?
Sign holders are gone. I'm speaking not just for myself, not for everybody. And let's figure out what we could do with the backstop for like $3,000
Does that apply to Berkshire Heights?
and
as
see if
well?
the school can help pay for that backstop. We'll say we'll split it 50-50 with them. How does that sound? And if we can find money, if we find money miraculously during the year, then maybe we can afford that. So cut the backstop in half.
We got away with 20,000, I think, this year on the park improvements. I think we could probably get away with 20,000 next year too,
Instead of 25,
instead of 25.
do you really need 20?
If you want, I mean, we spent 40 for this park line.
We're-
Yeah, listen,
we're talking-
I know.
We're talking about other
I hear
stuff.
you.
We gotta talk
Yeah.
about stuff we all,
Yes, well, we went from 50 down to 20.
I would keep at least.
no, you went from 20, you went from 20 to 50, and back down up to 25. I know what you're
No,
asking,
we-
what you're asking for. I know what you asked.
Right. We asked for 50 last year and we got 20.
So if we're talking
asked
percentage
50
increases,
this
what is
year.
that percentage
We're
increase,
asking.
I
135%?
would keep at least 10 to 15 in there because we did approve the forest.
All right, take it to 20, take it to 20.
Otherwise, the
I feel like
50,000 we spent on
I'm
stewardship is
running out of
useless.
patience.
I know.
Library repairs and maintenance is,
Let's
Not
put
existent.
that out.
oh, that's out already, I'm sorry. Okay, no problem.
Jim, I hate to recommend this, but under capital sewer improvements as well as storm sewer, the televising and repair,
That 225 for sanitary sewer is very important, it should not be cut. If I were to offer something up, that storm sewer, that's at 150, drop to 100, that's something.
Okay, you just offered it. Gotta watch what you say. Sorry, I mean, I get it. I get it. This is gonna go on going for years until we figure something else out. Anything else in this capital budget we can cut? We gotta repave, I mean, we gotta do a certain amount of
Would
roads.
we cut the dump truck? How long does that 51,
We can
380
do it
last?
through, I think they said another,
It can ride another year.
year, but then we're stuck, next year buying two or buying, and then we're losing the grant money.
Does anybody think the cost of trucks is going to remain 125?
Nope.
I mean, I think it's worthwhile to keep the truck in at the moment.
$75,000 net.
One.
That's all that's in there right now. Okay.
So I think the other thing that I heard you say before, Steve, is we need to also review our revenue streams, our non-tax revenue streams. If we have any additional ideas or proposals, things to bring forward, potentially, present them through this committee going forward to see what we can do to try to offset some of these additional expenses in the future.
Yeah. I agree.
Are we suggesting an emergency service tax?
I am,
To put in there.
so I would actually consider the 25 basis point for emergency services, which was the ambulance, all that crap we talked about earlier. And then we have to consider what a can you get us some scenarios on how it would help the general budget by putting a fire tax in of, just use half a point?
Okay, if you're talking about a quarter for EMS and
Yep.
half for fire, you're
Just,
looking at.
I'm not saying that's what we're gonna do, but we gotta at least look at what,
7.5 will
would save you $780,000, which takes us to,
$765,000.
sorry.
We don't have 100% collection rate.
Someone explain to me how Tony Tucci fits into this with the money you're looking for.
Tony gets paid so that our residents don't get, and it's not Tony, by the way, it's Western Berks Ambulance Authority, but
Well, he's the guy that comes in and talks to us.
We pay $135,000 roughly for membership services for residents for Western Berks Ambulance. The EMS tax that Chris referred to and explained earlier would be part of if we put $250,000 in place and collected that tax revenue, the EMA, the Western Berks membership fees could be included in what we use that money towards, as well as Tom Boucher, the EMA, as the emergency management coordinator, and the dispatch fees.
So it's like 1.7, 1.65.
all right, so let's just do that.
Okay, I have a quarter EMS and a half for fire.
Yep. I mean, we'll have to make a decision at that point.
I would maybe look at.
I also think, will we have any better indication on where we stand on revenues for this year, where we're gonna end up this year with October numbers? More accurate numbers?
No,
Not
because
more accurate, I take that back, I apologize.
with each week's check run, I run a new P&L and compare it to my projection and make adjustments. So the information I'm using is only, it's actually today is a check run. It's actually pretty current.
You're gonna make another suggestion, Michelle?
I was gonna say you may wanna consider looking at doing a full mill for fire, since you can only use 50% of it towards salaries, and that's your biggest expense in the department.
Could I also suggest?
I can figure out what the difference between a mill and a whole mill is, half a mill and a whole mill,
Half a mill.
I can figure that out.
The road tax at a half a mil, if we want to continue to do road work, maybe you want to look at adjusting that.
I can figure that out too, I guess. So if we added, I'm not saying we're doing all this, but if you added a quarter point to the road tax, that gives them a budget of roughly $750,000 every year, correct?
Correct.
Anybody think that the roads don't need 750,000? Because we're getting less roads for 750,000 than we ever got.
Correct.
Correct. I agree.
Well, we have to bring it all to the table, so throw that in the mix too.
Road for another quarter.
Yep. Can we meet?
We have a regular finance meeting next Thursday.
How big is that agenda already? I didn't look.
It's a bunch, besides your cash monthly update and everything else, there's some resolutions that I think are pretty self-explanatory. It's like sewer rate, water rate, fee schedule. I think there's one on there for a grant application.
And we're not at final for water rate and sewer rate.
No, yeah, so we would hold off on the ones for water and sewer since we don't know what they're gonna be. Probably the same for fee schedule. So not big.
The pension's not ready, right?
So we'll meet, we'll have this as part of special budget meeting number 3
At the regular finance.
at the regular finance committee meeting next Thursday. Can we add that to the agenda or do we?
We've done.
Time?
The abbreviated October results.
Very.
Thank you.
Very, just
Real.
Bottom lines.
so Phyllis, that email that we talked about, that email that you sent to me regarding to turn the lights on, roughly 60% of the budget, right?
But to be clear, that was personnel cost only, and that is turning the lights on.
Its personnel cost is 60% of our budget.
Let's not turn the lights on because we got utilities.
No.
60% was the benefits in relation to the salary.
Yeah,
Right.
overall is about a third.
So, all right, next meeting is
Thursday, November 6th at 8 AM.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
Category for bond